What's up, everybody? Back for another beer review, and today is Wednesday, which of course means it's time for another Western New York Wednesday here on the channel. And the beer I'm reviewing today comes from Grimm Artisanal Ales, and they are out of Brooklyn, New York, and this is their Blackberry Orange Pop. So they used to call this a dessert-style Berliner Weisse. Now on the can, they call it a sour ale brewed with blackberries, oranges, vanilla, and milk sugar. Comes in at 6% alcohol by volume, 30 IBUs at the time of review. This can is just under 1 month old. So I'm featuring Grimm on a Western New York Wednesday because they've been well entrenched in the Western New York area for well over 5 years, despite the fact they are in Brooklyn and not the Western New York area. Now, you know, they do a lot of hazy IPAs and fruited sours and pastry styles, you know, all the styles that are in nowadays. But when they first showed up in the Western New York area, they had some very interesting beers. The first beer I ever tried from them was their Bees in the Trap, which was a Belgian-style triple with honey. Pretty solid. Then I did their Action Adventure, which was a smoked sour ale. Very interesting. And I actually reviewed that with a good friend of mine, a fellow beer tuber, Paul, over at PA Brew News, down in his neck of the woods, literally. And after that review, I just remember Paul taking the rest of the beer and just throwing it over his shoulder. He had a window screen behind him that was broken. Beer went right through that hole. And the reason why he had a busted window screen was because I think it was earlier that summer, because we did it on Labor Day weekend. Earlier that summer, a bear came down to his house and it tried to get in. So yeah, Paul literally lives in the woods. But anyway, that was interesting to try. And then they did their Cherry Oak Shapeshifter, which was a wee heavy that was aged in brandy barrels with cherries. And they were just doing a whole bunch of crazy stuff. And then all of a sudden they just started doing hazies. But they've been here for well over 5 years, and I always enjoy trying their beer. So full disclosure, I've had this beer specifically before. I've had a bunch in the Pop series. I actually think this series is just absolutely amazing. Back when I started my channel, I was tagged in a top 5 styles video, and I actually made it top 5 desert island beer styles because you could do a twist on it. And I named this series as like one of the styles I'd want on my, you know, if I was on a deserted island, I would want any beer from this series on there, any beer within the so-called dessert style Berliner Weisse style. So yeah, I remember enjoying this one. So we'll see what this one has going on now. It wasn't my favorite within the series. I think it was the cherry raspberry one I really enjoyed, but still, I really like this beer. Now look at that color. I mean, you know they're using a bunch of blackberries. That's just an absolutely beautiful looking color. I mean, Jesus, look at that. Look at that. So that's like this deep purple color, straight up half finger, well, like a quarter finger of a light pink head. Not really creamy looking, and it's now dissipating, but that just looks beautiful. Kyle from No Hype Beer Reviews, friend of mine, fellow beer tuber, he always says that when I pour these crazy colors, crazy looking beers into my glass, kind of looks like the Kool-Aid Man. I don't know if that's coming off on camera. If it does, yeah, Kyle said that. Anyway, let's get a nose. Yeah, tons of blackberries. A little bit like orange rind. I don't know if they're using like orange juice. It just says oranges, maybe the entire thing. And definitely some vanilla. Like I said, they said milk sugar on here. That's basically lactose. And yeah, it smells like what you would assume a blackberry, say, creamsicle would smell like in liquid form. It smells sweet but tart, and it just has a lot of blackberries, a lot of oranges, and a decent amount of vanilla. The thing about these beers to me is they're not overly complex, but they're really delicious. So let's get into it. Cheers, everyone. Yep. Bam. So right up front, you're hit with a lot of that vanilla and lactose, big vanilla character as it passes through the palate. A nice tart and sweet raspberry come to the forefront. A little bit of like a pithy, almost rindy orange, not like a juicy orange. And then it finishes with this really nice, like akin to like a blackberry creamsicle. It just has that vanilla, the blackberries, nice sweetness, a nice tartness on the back end. It doesn't have any funk or anything. It is kettle soured. It has a really good balance between the sweetness and the tartness. As I continue to drink on this, the tartness is building up a little bit and the sweetness is being dialed back. Body on this one, 6% is about medium body because of the, you know, probably the lactose and the vanilla and everything they're using here in the you know, blackberries. It would be probably a bit thinner than that, but it's fine for a 6% beer. The mouthfeel, soft, smooth, slightly creamy from that lactose as well. Yeah. Like I said in that video, this would be a great desert island beer to break up the monotony of whatever else I would have. I think I said like American style porter and like an IPA and whatnot. This This is sweeter. I see why they kind of don't call it a dessert style Berliner Weisse anymore, because it's not as sweet as I remember it. Maybe it's because I've had so many beers with lactose and vanilla and kind of creamsicle vibes and stuff. But man, it's just really well made and very tasty. And not much more to say about it. If you like a nice balance between sweetness and tartness and you like vanilla and blackberries, this one's for you. And I'm really digging it. So I think I gave it originally a 4.25 out of 5. I'm going to stick with that score. So Blackberry Orange Pop from Grimm Artisanal Ales, 4.25 out of 5. It's a really good beer. Not my favorite within the style. Hopefully, as they continue to release more of these in cans, I will pick some up. The price point on this was $6.29 for a 16-ounce can, which is expensive. But they used to come 22-ounce bombers for $9.99, so this is a better deal, probably by $1, maybe $1.50. So pretty happy, excuse me, that they put that in the can now, because I didn't want to really drink a 22-ounce bomber of it. 16 ounces is good enough for me. So appreciate you guys stopping by for another beer review and another Western New York Wednesday. Be on the lookout next Wednesday for another installment. And until then, cheers.